Princess Liara of Zytheria stared out of the tall crystal windows of the palace, her green eyes tracing the horizon where the twin suns began to set. The golden light spilled over the city, reflecting on the silver towers that stretched high into the sky. Everything looked perfect, clean, and orderly, but Liara felt trapped. Since birth, she had lived under a strict set of rules. Every action, every thought, every moment was measured against centuries-old laws. Royal life meant obedience. Curiosity was discouraged. Adventure was forbidden. Yet Liara was not like other princesses. She wanted to explore, to learn, to see what lay beyond the walls of her golden cage. She wanted to feel the world in her hands, not just watch it from a distance. "Princess Liara," called a soft voice. It was her personal aide, a small, blue-skinned creature named Tavik. "The council awaits your presence. You cannot ignore the laws any longer." Liara turned, a small smile playing on her lips. "Tavik, I know the council waits, but I cannot stay here today. I need to see it for myself." Tavik sighed. "Your Highness, you risk everything by leaving the palace. The punishment for leaving without permission is severe." Liara's eyes shone with determination. "I am the princess, Tavik. It is my duty to understand my world. How can I lead if I only follow orders?" And with that, she slipped through the secret door hidden behind a tapestry. Her feet made no sound on the polished floors. She moved quickly, her long silken robes trailing behind her. The palace was enormous, but Liara knew every corridor, every hidden passage. Soon, she was outside, where the alien winds blew over the crystal towers and carried the scent of distant forests. The forbidden forests of Zytheria were dark, dense, and dangerous. No citizen had entered them for decades. Tales told of strange creatures that lived there, monsters that could see into the mind and prey on fear. But Liara did not hesitate. She walked carefully, her eyes scanning the undergrowth. Strange plants glowed faintly in the twilight, and birds with iridescent feathers called to each other. She paused to touch a leaf that shimmered like silver. It felt warm, alive, almost like it was breathing. "Liara?" a voice called softly, startling her. She turned and saw a figure stepping from behind a tree. A human. Liara froze. Humans were rare on Zytheria. They came from a small, distant planet called Earth. Rarely did they travel this far. And she had never seen one in the forest before. The human was tall, wearing a simple suit with many pockets. His brown hair was messy, and his eyes were bright with curiosity. He held a small device in his hand, scanning the ground. "Who are you?" Liara asked, stepping closer. "I'm Alex," the human said with a small smile. "I study Zytheria's ecosystem. I didn't expect to find anyone, especially not a princess." Liara laughed softly. "A princess should not be here, and yet here I am. I am Liara, daughter of the High Council." Alex raised his eyebrows. "A princess? Exploring the Forbidden Forest? That's bold." Liara's smile widened. "Bold or foolish? I suppose time will tell. And you? You are not supposed to be here either. Humans do not travel this far from their planet often." "I like to see things for myself," Alex said. "I don't always follow the rules." Liara's heart skipped a beat. A human who does not follow rules. How curious! She had never met anyone so fearless, so free. For hours they walked together through the forest. Liara showed Alex strange, glowing flowers, and Alex explained how he studied their properties. He showed her how humans experimented, made mistakes, and learned from them. He explained about Earth, a small blue planet full of life, where people faced challenges every day but still found ways to overcome them. Liara listened intently. Every word fascinated her. Humans seemed so alive, so willing to take risks, to explore, to think for themselves. Her people, on the other hand, obeyed rules without question. As night fell, the forest glowed with bioluminescent plants. Liara felt alive in a way she never had in the palace. She realized that curiosity and courage were as important as obedience and duty. Suddenly, a sound of movement broke the calm. Shadows shifted, and Liara froze. The forest was not empty. She had heard stories of predators, creatures that lurked in the darkness. Her pulse quickened. Alex noticed her tension. "Stay calm. There's nothing here that can harm us if we are careful," he said, his voice steady. From the darkness, a small creature appeared. It was not dangerous, but it stared at them with glowing eyes. Liara's fear melted into wonder. The forest was alive, full of mysteries waiting to be discovered. "You are brave," Alex said, smiling. "But more than that, you are curious. That is what makes humans special. We do not let fear stop us from exploring." Liara looked at him, her eyes shining. You teach me something new. Something my people never taught me. Perhaps humans understand the world differently." Alex shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe we just ask questions that others are afraid to ask. Rules are important, yes, but understanding comes from experience, not just obedience." Liara nodded slowly. For the first time, she felt a spark of independence. She wanted to learn more, not just from books or teachers, but from life itself, from humans like Alex. As the night deepened, Liara realized it was time to return. She knew the palace would notice her absence. Guards would search for her. Punishment would follow. But she could not ignore the lesson she had learned. "Thank you, Alex," she said softly. I hope to see you again. There is much I want to learn from you." Alex smiled. "I hope so too, Princess. The world is bigger than any rule. Never forget that." Liara slipped back through the hidden door into the palace. The corridors were silent, the shadows long. She moved quickly, her mind racing with new thoughts. She could feel the weight of her crown, but it no longer felt like a chain. It was a responsibility, a challenge, to lead her people wisely with courage and curiosity. As she reached her chambers, she paused at the window. The twin suns had set, and the sky was painted with stars. She thought of Alex, of Earth, of the vast universe waiting to be explored. For the first time, she felt truly free, even within the walls of her golden prison. Liara knew one thing for certain. She would never stop questioning, never stop exploring, and never stop learning. And perhaps one day, she would teach her people that bravery and curiosity were not crimes. They were gifts. For now, though, she would rest. The forest, the stars, and the lessons of a human named Alex would linger in her mind like a secret treasure, waiting for the right time to be shared with the world. And somewhere deep inside, Liara smiled, knowing that her journey had only just begun. The palace of Cytheria was as orderly and silent as ever, but Princess Liara could not stop thinking about Alex. His words echoed in her mind. The world is bigger than any rule. Never forget that. She had spent her life following laws without question, yet now she understood that rules alone did not make a leader wise or strong. Liara sat at her desk, a scroll of palace protocols in front of her, but she did not read. Instead, she traced the outline of her hand and thought about the forest, the glowing plants, and the human who had shown her something entirely new. She made a decision. If she wanted to truly learn about the world, she would have to see it from the human perspective, not just through books or the council's lectures. And so she began planning a secret meeting with Alex. The next day, under the guise of attending a royal function, Liara sneaked him into the palace. Alex had been exploring the forests again, and when Liara called, he was surprised but willing. "I thought you would be punished if anyone found out," he said quietly, as he followed her through the labyrinth of corridors. I might be, Liara admitted with a small smile, but knowledge is worth the risk. They entered her private chambers, and Liara showed him the holographic maps of the city and the surrounding regions. Alex studied them carefully, pointing out places where humans could use technology to improve the ecosystem without harming the environment. You see, Princess, Alex said, humans face challenges all the time. We do not have perfect rules like your council. We make mistakes, but we learn from them. That is how we survive and grow. Liara nodded. Your world sounds so alive. My people are safe, yes, but we do not learn the way you do. We follow rules without asking why. Is that how humans avoid disaster? Alex shook his head. Not always. We get into trouble a lot. But the difference is that we think, we try, we adapt. Rules are important, but understanding is more important. Liara thought about her life, the rigid walls around her, the unending lectures about obedience. She realized that her people valued conformity over courage, repetition over creativity. And yet, she felt a spark inside her, a desire to be more than what was expected. Over the next few days, Liara and Alex spent hours together. He taught her about human logic, how humans approached problems from different angles, how they questioned authority when necessary, and how they learned through trial and error. One afternoon, Alex showed her a simple human experiment. He placed several plants under different lights to see which grew best. Liara watched in fascination as the plants changed, growing toward the light they needed. In humans, Alex explained, we try, we fail, and we try again. It is the same with people. You must experiment with ideas, even if others think it is wrong. That is how progress happens. Liara's mind raced. She thought about the palace, about the strict council, about the laws she had been forced to follow. She realized that her people were missing something essential: curiosity, courage, and the ability to act independently. One evening, Liara whispered, Alex, I want to try something. Something no one in Zetheria has done before. Alex raised his eyebrows. What is it? I want to apply your methods here in the palace, to experiment, to learn, to see what changes I can make. Safely. I do not want to break the rules just for fun. I want to understand life as humans do. Alex studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. It is risky, but I think you can do it. You have courage. Just remember, every action has a consequence. Be careful, Princess. The next day, Liara began small. She introduced a few minor changes in the palace gardens, rearranging the layout, planting new flowers, allowing the gardeners to experiment with soil and water techniques. The results were stunning. Flowers bloomed faster, colors were brighter, and the gardens became more vibrant than ever. The palace council noticed immediately. Whispers spread through the halls. Some praised the beauty, while others feared Liara was breaking tradition. The princess welcomed the criticism. Change is not destruction, she said to Alex quietly. It is growth. The people need to see that rules can guide us, but they do not have to limit us. One day, as Liara and Alex walked through the gardens, Tavik approached, looking worried. Your Highness, he said, the council is suspicious. They speak of exile if you continue to defy protocols. Be cautious. Liara paused, staring at the glowing flowers. I understand, Tavik, but I must do this. I cannot live my life bound only by fear. Humans teach me that courage is worth more than obedience without understanding. That night, Liara sat alone in her chambers, thinking about the lessons Alex had taught her. She realized that humans were not stronger because of rules or technology. They were strong because of their minds, their hearts, and their willingness to take responsibility for their actions. Her own people, she realized, could become stronger if they learned this as well. but she would need to lead by example. One mistake could ruin everything, but one correct choice could inspire her people to see the world differently. Over the next week, Liara experimented further. She applied human-inspired logic to palace problems. She suggested new ways to organize the royal archives, allowing scholars to explore and question freely rather than just follow orders. She proposed new teaching methods for young Zetherians, encouraging them to think independently and creatively. Some palace officials were impressed, others outraged. The tension grew. Liara felt the weight of every decision, every action magnified by centuries of tradition. But Alex's guidance stayed in her mind. Think, adapt, learn. One afternoon, as they walked through the palace's high observation towers, Alex said, "Liara, what you are doing is remarkable. You are not just breaking rules, you are teaching your people something deeper. That is what humans do. We inspire even when we make mistakes. We learn, and we help others learn." Liara smiled. "I want my people to be more than obedient. I want them to be brave, curious, and wise. I want them to know that rules are tools, not chains." Alex looked at her with respect. "Then you will need to be patient. Change takes time, even when it is the right thing to do." As the days passed, Liara grew more confident. She continued her lessons with Alex, learning about human problem-solving, teamwork, and empathy. She discovered that humans did not fear mistakes. They used them to grow stronger. She realized that her people could benefit from the same mindset. But danger was always near. The palace council watched closely. Each new experiment, each new idea risked exposure. Liara knew that if she was caught, punishment would be harsh. Exile or imprisonment awaited anyone who broke the sacred rules. Yet, she did not falter. She carefully applied her new knowledge, balancing innovation with caution. Her actions slowly began to influence those around her. Gardeners, scholars, and even some officials started to see the value in creativity, in independent thought. Small changes began to ripple through the palace. One evening, Liara stood on her balcony, looking at the twin moons rising above the city. She thought of Alex, of the forest, of the lessons she had learned. She realized that she was no longer the same princess who had hidden behind palace walls. She was a leader in the making, inspired by humans, ready to show her people that courage, curiosity, and intelligence could coexist with tradition. And in that quiet moment, she made a promise to herself. She would continue to learn from Alex, to embrace human ways, and to change her empire for the better, even if it meant risking everything. The seeds of transformation had been planted. The palace, the council, and the entire world of Zetheria would soon feel the winds of change. And Princess Liara was ready to lead the way. The palace of Zetheria had never been more tense. Rumors of Princess Liara's experiments and human-inspired changes had reached the ears of the royal council. Some officials whispered in admiration, others muttered warnings of punishment. Yet Liara moved forward, determined to apply the lessons she had learned from Alex. She had never felt so alive. The palace corridors, once oppressive, now seemed full of possibilities. Every corner held an opportunity to learn, to improve, to grow. But the risk was growing too. One wrong move, and centuries of tradition could turn against her. One morning, an urgent message arrived. The palace energy core, the system that powered the city and kept the towers stable, was showing unusual readings. Small energy surges had started to ripple through the city. If left unchecked, the entire capital could face catastrophic collapse. Liara knew this was her moment. "Alex," she whispered, hurrying to the forest clearing where he often worked. "I need your help. The palace is in danger. The energy core is unstable, and I believe my experiments may have triggered part of the problem." Alex's eyes widened. "Your experiments? You mean The human-inspired changes you made in the palace? Liara nodded. I tried to improve the energy distribution using new methods. I did not intend to cause harm, but now the system is unstable. I need you. Without hesitation, Alex followed her back to the palace. Guards eyed him suspiciously. But Liara's royal status allowed him to pass. The main chamber of the energy core was vast, glowing with pulsating light. Screens displayed graphs and energy readings, warning of impending overload. Liara examined the controls, her brow furrowed. The core's energy is rising too fast in one sector. If we do not stabilize it, the towers could collapse. Alex studied the system carefully. Liara, this is unlike anything humans have encountered before. But we can try a human approach. We'll need to work together, step by step, carefully testing every adjustment. They moved to the main console. Liara's fingers trembled slightly as she followed Alex's instructions. He explained how humans experimented with small changes rather than making massive adjustments at once. One step at a time, he said. Observe, learn, then act again. Liara nodded. She had learned this from him before, but now the stakes were higher. Her heart raced as she made the first adjustment. The energy readings stabilized slightly. She exhaled in relief. Good, Alex said, smiling. Now the next step. We need to redirect excess energy into the storage buffers and balance the flow across all sectors. Together, they worked for hours. Sweat dripped from Liara's brow. Her mind raced, calculating, observing, adjusting. Alex's calm guidance and human ingenuity guided her every move. Slowly, the energy surges subsided. The core's warning lights dimmed. But just as they thought it was over, alarms blared. A sudden spike in a secondary sector threatened to undo their progress. Liara's stomach tightened. She realized that her experiments in the palace archives, her attempts to reorganize systems using human methods, had inadvertently triggered this surge. I caused this, she said softly, guilt heavy in her voice. If anything happens, it is my fault. Alex shook his head. Mistakes happen, Liara. Humans learn from mistakes. The key is how we respond. Right now, we act. That is what matters. Liara swallowed her fear and focused. She recalculated the energy flow, following Alex's instructions and applying her own insights. Step by step, she guided the adjustments. Slowly, the readings stabilized. The palace's lights stopped flickering, and the gentle hum of the core returned to normal. For a moment, they stood in silence, listening to the soft, steady energy of the city. Liara's chest swelled with relief. She had saved the palace, using lessons she had learned from a human. But victory was short-lived. The Royal Council had been monitoring the system remotely. Screens lit up with urgent notifications. The princess had broken the rules. Unauthorized experiments, unapproved changes. Liara had violated the sacred codes of Zetheria. Within hours, the council summoned her. The chamber was cold, filled with stern faces. High-ranking officials glared at her, their voices full of disapproval. Princess Liara, the head of the council said, you have endangered the entire capital. You have ignored the laws that have kept our civilization safe for centuries. The punishment for such actions is exile. Liara stood tall, her heart pounding. I did not intend harm, she said. I followed a method taught to me by a human. Yes, I broke rules, but I saved the palace. I learned from my mistakes and acted responsibly. Should we not value understanding and courage as much as obedience? The council members murmured among themselves. Some were outraged, some skeptical, others thoughtful. They had never seen a princess speak with such conviction. Liara's actions had been daring, reckless even, but undeniably effective. The city was safe because of her courage and human-inspired ingenuity. One council member stepped forward. Princess Liara, Your actions are unprecedented. You have broken rules in ways we cannot ignore. Yet, your decisions prevented disaster. The council is divided. We must consider whether punishment or recognition is appropriate." Liara's mind raced. She knew the council could exile her, imprison her, or worse. Yet she also knew that her courage, her learning from Alex, and her willingness to take responsibility had proven her worth. She could not hide behind rules any longer. Alex placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You have shown them what humans can teach. You acted bravely and wisely. Trust in yourself." Liara drew a deep breath. "Council, I accept responsibility for my actions. I will face any consequences. But I ask you to consider this. A civilization that only follows rules without understanding cannot thrive. Curiosity, courage, and problem-solving are just as vital as obedience. I will continue to learn and guide my people wisely." The council was silent. Liara's words were bold, yet they resonated with something deep in their culture. Perhaps they had never considered that rules alone could not prepare their people for the challenges of the galaxy. After long deliberation, the council made their decision. They would spare Liara exile, but she would be required to lead reforms carefully, applying human-inspired methods to improve the palace and teach others. She would remain under watch, but her actions were recognized as courageous and valuable. Liara bowed respectfully, her heart filled with relief and determination. She had faced the consequences, learned from her mistakes, and proved that courage and understanding were as powerful as rules. As the council dispersed, Alex turned to her. "You did it, Liara. You faced your fears, saved the palace, and convinced the council to see things differently. That is something humans value highly, taking responsibility, learning, and inspiring others." Liara smiled. "I could not have done it without you, Alex. Humans teach more than courage. They teach hope. And now, I hope to bring that hope to my people." In the days that followed, Liara began implementing gradual changes. Palace officials learned to experiment within safe limits. Scholars encouraged creative thinking, and young Zetherians were inspired to ask questions rather than blindly follow rules. Small victories rippled across the city, yet Liara knew challenges remained. Some officials resisted, some citizens doubted, and the council continued to watch closely. But she had learned an important lesson. Real leadership required balance between courage and caution, creativity and responsibility, human-inspired insight and alien tradition. And most importantly, she understood that she had found a teacher in Alex, not just a human, but a guide who showed her the power of thought, action, and empathy. She would carry these lessons forever. That night, Liara stood on her balcony, looking at the glowing towers of the capital. The twin moons hung low, casting a silver light across the city. She felt a sense of pride and hope. The empire could change. It could grow stronger, not by blindly following rules, but by embracing curiosity, courage, and understanding. Liara knew the journey ahead would not be easy. More challenges, more mistakes, and more lessons awaited. But she was ready. With humans like Alex teaching her the ways of creativity, courage, and empathy, she could face any challenge, and perhaps inspire her people to do the same. For the first time, she truly believed that one person, guided by knowledge, courage, and human insight, could change the future of an entire civilization. And somewhere far away, Alex looked at the stars and smiled, knowing that the princess he had taught would never forget the lessons of humanity. The palace of Zetheria had grown quieter over the past few weeks, but a new energy hummed through the corridors. Princess Liara had survived the council's judgment, and though she remained under careful observation, she now had the chance to shape the future. She walked through the palace gardens at dawn, the twin suns painting the sky with soft gold and violet. The flowers she had helped redesign glowed brightly in the morning light. Gardeners were experimenting with new planting techniques, encouraged by Liara's guidance. Their laughter and chatter created a lively harmony that had been missing for decades. Liara paused, letting the warm breeze brush her face. She thought of Alex, far away on Earth, or wherever his next mission had taken him, and smiled. His lessons had not been forgotten. Courage, curiosity, empathy, and careful experimentation were now part of her thinking. She had learned that leadership was not about strict obedience. It was about understanding, adapting, and inspiring others. The council was watching closely. Some officials still whispered doubts about human-inspired methods, worried that Liara's approach might undermine tradition. Others quietly supported her, intrigued by the improvements they had already witnessed. The balance was delicate. One misstep could undo everything. Yet Liara felt ready. The city had survived the energy crisis. Her actions had proven her wisdom, and the people were beginning to see the value of her vision. In the private chamber, she called a meeting with the palace scholars and senior officials. "We must think carefully about the future," she began. "Rules are important, yes, but understanding is more important. We can improve our civilization by combining tradition with curiosity and courage. We must learn to experiment safely, to take responsible risks, and to value human-inspired problem-solving." A few skeptical officials raised questions. "But, Princess, are you not afraid of failure? The Council has warned us that mistakes can bring disaster." Liara smiled gently. "Mistakes will happen. Humans make mistakes every day, yet they learn from them. What matters is not avoiding failure entirely, but learning from it. We can grow stronger together if we embrace this approach." One by one, the scholars and officials began to nod, seeing the sense in her words. Slowly, a consensus emerged. Liara's vision was risky but promising. The empire could indeed become stronger, more adaptable, and more innovative. Over the following weeks, Liara initiated careful reforms throughout the palace and city. Scholars were encouraged to ask questions, students were allowed to explore creative solutions, and even palace workers were empowered to suggest improvements. Liara used human-inspired methods, encouraging trial and error, discussion, and teamwork. The results were astonishing. The palace became more efficient, more vibrant, and more harmonious. The gardens flourished, energy systems stabilized, and the people began to feel hope and excitement for the first time in decades. One day, a special visitor arrived. A small human device, gifted by Alex, sat on Liara's desk. It was a compact tool that allowed communication and knowledge sharing, a symbol of friendship and understanding between humans and Zetharians. Liara held it carefully, feeling a wave of gratitude for the human who had changed her life. "I will not forget your lessons, Alex," she whispered. "They have shaped me and my people. One day we may meet again, but even if we do not, your teachings will remain alive here." Liara realized that humans were not just courageous or intelligent. They inspired others. They showed how to lead with understanding, how to face challenges without fear, and how to grow from every experience. Her empire, she believed, could now adopt these principles and flourish in ways she had never imagined. The Palace Council, while still cautious, gradually began to trust her judgment. The head of the council approached Liara one afternoon. "Princess, your reforms are having a noticeable effect. The city is thriving. Your methods are unconventional, but perhaps necessary. It seems humans may indeed have lessons we could learn." Liara bowed respectfully. "Thank you. I hope to teach our people that courage, curiosity, and understanding are strengths, not threats. Rules are guides, but wisdom comes from thought and experience." Even the citizens noticed changes. Children explored gardens freely. Scholars shared knowledge openly, and the city's energy systems operated with remarkable efficiency. Word spread quickly. The princess who once broke every rule was now guiding her people to a brighter future. Liara herself had grown immensely. She no longer feared the council or the expectations of tradition. She understood that leadership was about responsibility, not power. She had faced crises, made mistakes, learned from humans, and emerged wiser. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Liara climbed to the highest tower. She looked over the city, now alive with activity and hope. The lights glimmered like stars, the gardens glowed with life, and she felt a sense of accomplishment. "Alex was right," she murmured. "The world is bigger than any rule. Learning, courage, and empathy can change everything." A soft breeze carried the sound of distant laughter from the gardens. Liara realized that her people were no longer afraid to explore, to question, and to grow. They were beginning to embrace the lessons she had learned from a human, and she knew that change, once planted, could never be undone. The next day, Liara organized a ceremony to honor innovation and curiosity. Scholars and citizens presented new ideas, experiments, and solutions. Liara spoke to them with pride and conviction. Do not fear failure. Do not blindly follow rules without understanding. Take risks responsibly. Explore, question, and learn. Let curiosity guide you and let courage strengthen you. This is the path to a stronger, brighter Scifi. The crowd erupted in applause. For the first time, they truly understood her vision. The Empire's future no longer depended solely on tradition. It depended on the strength and creativity of its people. In the weeks that followed, Liara continued to work with her citizens, applying human-inspired methods to improve education, technology, and culture. She encouraged partnerships with other planets, spreading knowledge and learning from diverse civilizations. Scifi's reputation as a rigid, rule-bound empire began to change. People spoke of innovation, courage, and curiosity. Liara's reforms extended beyond technology and organization. She emphasized empathy and moral responsibility. Citizens learned to value each other's perspectives, to work together, and to solve problems through collaboration rather than fear. Scifi became a place where rules guided rather than constrained, and understanding was as important as obedience. One evening, as Liara prepared to rest, Tavik entered her chambers. "Your Highness, you have accomplished more than I imagined possible. The palace, the city, even the council. Your influence has reached all corners." Liara smiled. "It is not just me, Tavik. Humans taught me that one person can inspire others, but true change comes when everyone participates. My people are learning to lead themselves as well." Tavik nodded. "And Alex?" Liara held the small human device in her hands. "He taught me that courage, curiosity, and responsibility can change a life, and even a civilization. One day, I hope to meet him again. But even if I never do, his lessons will live on here." The twin moons shone brightly outside the window, reflecting on the crystal towers of the city. Liara felt hope for the future, hope for herself, her people, and Scifi. The Empire had survived danger, embraced change, and discovered the power of human-inspired ingenuity. And in that moment, Liara made a silent promise. She would never forget the lesson humans had taught her. Courage and curiosity were as vital as wisdom and duty. One person could spark change, and understanding could guide even the most rigid of societies toward a better future. The palace hummed with life, the gardens glowed with colors, and the citizens of Scifi moved through their city with a new sense of purpose. Liara stood on the balcony, feeling the wind on her face. She smiled, knowing that her journey, from a rule-bound princess to a courageous leader inspired by humans, had only just begun. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries waiting to be explored, and now Scifi was ready. Princess Liara had learned a lesson she would never forget, that courage, curiosity, and empathy could break barriers, change minds, and shape the destiny of an entire civilization. And with that knowledge, she was determined to lead her people into a future brighter than anyone could have imagined.